So now I'm just trying to get us live across
Okay.
2, 3 platforms. All right. So a very good evening and good afternoon to all of you. Welcome back into the new year, and we have a new session for you today. And today we're speaking to Dr. Sean Day, who is a lecturer and head of Department of Digital Humanities at University College Cork. Welcome, Sean, and thanks for doing this today.
Thanks for having me.
So, this is it's very interesting. Digital humanities. Is it digital humanities? Is it arts and computing? Can you tell us a little bit just to start us off on what exactly are we talking about today?
Sure. It's probably a little bit of both. It's a matter of what you decide to do in terms of putting a label on it. Essentially, what it is, in the broadest way of thinking about it, is it's how humans and technology interact, and how they interact both in terms of our everyday life, how they interact in terms of what we do in the workaday world, how they interact when you're playing away on social media, and how that's impacting on humanity and society itself. Likewise, how we try to use technology to better society. So we like to study that. We like to dig into that and think about what those implications are, how we go about making changes, being aware, being digitally critical, being a good digital citizen, and realizing that we live in a digital world, and to try and think about all that that entails.
That sounds fascinating. I mean, it's very important, I think, in this day and age. And what is interesting is when you think about digital humanities, you think it's more a dependence on technology, but I think you go into a sort of understanding of why has it become so important. And so maybe if you could tell us, before we get into details, what are the sort of programs that are offered by UCC for students, be it at the undergraduate or postgraduate level?
Great. Yeah. Well, we've been offering programs in digital humanities for I guess about the past 12 years now. Digital humanities as a discipline is relatively young in terms of what we call it there, and UCC has led this in Ireland, and leads it in Europe. A lot of it has emerged more from North America. So in North America, it was probably happening a little bit earlier, but at
Right.
UCC, it began, like I say, about 12 years ago. We offer programs at the undergraduate level. So we have a program called Digital Humanities and Information Technologies, which combines the best of computer science with the humanities subject, and then explores it deeply and really gets into it by adding that digital humanities lens to it. We offer a number of postgraduate programs as well, including a fully face-to-face MA in digital arts and humanities, and which is particularly nice because it's a very broad spectrum of students that we're engaging with there. Those that are more technically inclined, those that are more artistically inclined, and it brings them together in the room and really gives them a chance to learn from one another as much as from the teaching staff. We also offer 2 PhD programs in digital humanities as well. So we've got a full plethora of platforms right across the spectrum that we offer there. And that's changing all the time because it's a rapidly changing discipline. It's a rapidly changing world, and we have to keep up with that. And digital humanities is right at the forefront in terms of doing that. So anything that we see happening in the world, we're responding to that very, very quickly and giving our students the opportunity to really think about it and develop the skills to be a part of it.
And so, how exactly does that happen? I mean, so I understand there's an awareness that's created in students who are doing this about what's happening out there in the world. Um, how does it equip them, and how does it make it sort of job ready? What sort of options do they have after they study?
Sure. Sure. I mean, the world's your oyster, we'd like to think, in terms of coming out of the program, and we're very proud of the fact that pretty much we've got about 100% placement rate after this. Employability is almost guaranteed coming out of this program. We don't have to guarantee it. It's the sort of skills that we're delivering that are
Right.
really in demand by industry. So very specifically, when you look at something like our undergraduate program, for example, what we're doing is spending half of our time in computer science making sure that students are able to think programmatically. They're learning a lot of skills about programmatic delivery. So there's a little bit of development that's going on from that standpoint. The students also get to choose a minor field in humanities subject, whether that be English literature, geography, psychology, philosophy, and that then is combined through the digital humanities, which is the bigger part of the program from that standpoint, to really think about how, from the computer science, we combine the what from the minor field and then why we do it as far as digital humanities is concerned. What that means for the employer very specifically is you get very digitally critical employees, people that think about why they're doing what they're doing. So in terms of even some of our employability in the past with companies like Google, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Intel, Oracle, many of them have taken students for the very first time and expected students that were quite competent from their programming skills. And then they've realized that these students are different. They're people that go beyond just purely being able to develop code and find technological solutions. They think about what those solutions really entail for the human, for the person that they really interact with. So we're equipping students to go out into the workforce from this standpoint and engage beyond just being at the fairly low level and being able to just do. They actually know why they're doing. And that's very, very important. And employers really key to that. And that's really given us superb employability in the high-tech sector, in the cultural heritage sector, quite a broad range. So we're employing in museums, we're employing in the government, we're employing in the private sector. It's right across the board.
Amazing. That sounds amazing. And now I know you mentioned that, there's the involvement of the department. I mean, so it's from arts and humanities, you have from computer science. So what exactly, so who should apply for these sorts of programs?
I'd like anybody to apply. That's the cool thing, frankly, about the program. It does apply on a very broad range,
Yes.
but the more diversity we have in the classroom, the better it is for everybody. So we're looking at people that come out of a background in humanities, out of social science. We often get people that have been doing code and want to increase their understanding of what the implications are of that. So we get, computer science graduates, get engineers. We get a lot of people that come into us from law because law is hugely impacted by what is going on here. Law tries to keep up with changing society, has to understand the nature of how technology is impacting on humanity. That's ultimately what's going on. So you get things from a very, very broad sector. We get fine artists that come into the program and want to think about how the digital changes their own practice. So in the master's program, it's very much called digital arts and humanities. So you tend to get people that are very much on the performing side and people that are very much on the developmental side, and they come together. And that's really what brings us this lovely fusion that we use in the classroom. That's how people learn within this. So we're here to facilitate. We try to provoke. We try to instigate. We provide a forum for the people to come together. So typically, like if I think about this, I mean, I had my master's program in here last night. What we were talking about in the master's program was thinking very deeply about the impact of social media in their lives. And how they've changed, even the changes they've seen in the past few years. And this is especially true when you look at the impact of social media on political movements, in terms of how it is actually, bolstering, but also undermining a lot of the social institutions that we know. And we get a good discussion going in the classroom about that. And then we think about how it is we might study that more deeply. How can we look at social media posts? How can we analyze the text in social media posts? How can we look at what's being talked about, how the discussion is changing, and look at this from a scholarly standpoint? And that's something that, again, industry is very interested in. They want to know how people are thinking about this. How is this being interpreted in society? What are the deeper implications of what they're actually doing themselves? And so we've been called in to give, subject matter discussions and leadership within private sector as well because of that.
Wow. Okay. Okay. That's fascinating. And so maybe if you could tell us, I would like to know a little bit more about the modules that you're teaching, but could you also just give us an understanding of how long these programs are at the master's level and at the undergraduate level? Is it a 3-year, 4-year degree? And then I'd really want you to maybe tell us about a module that you enjoy teaching, something that is amongst your favorite during yes.
Sure, no, that's great. At the master's level, it's a one-year program, okay, and it has three exit points. In fairness, you can actually get a cert, you can get a dip, or you can get the full degree. The difference is taking one semester, 2 semesters, or actually completing a dissertation. So at the master's level, you start in the autumn, typically, whether that's the face-to-face or whether that's the online session, and you take courses in theory and practice within this. You learn about some of the critical digital skills that are going to be essential to do to succeed in the program. We then move into the tools and methodologies area, which is where I'm more active, okay? And those all combine along with a selected number of electives that are available. I can think about gender and society. I can think about some people that take more direct programmatic electives. They're brought together then for the delivery of a full project by the end of August. So it's a full year program where a full dissertation is delivered, and that gets you an MA in either digital cultures or in digital arts and humanities. At the undergraduate level, it's a 3 or 4 year program. The first 2 years are really preparatory, are really building a very, very strong foundation in digital humanities and computer science, so that you are armed with the appropriate skills to go forward from that standpoint. The third year is optional. The third year is either placement with a company in the private sector or public sector, and it's a full year placement. Okay, and then the final year of the program is doing a capstone digital project where you actually carry out your own derived digital product with the assistance of a supervisor from within the department. Like I say, third year is optional, but I really, really recommend it. I'd recommend it to any student we have in the program, and obviously a lot of the people that get placed during that time end up going back to work for that organization. That's very, very common practice, and that's just a testament to what we believe is the effectiveness of those students. So you've either got the 3-4 undergraduate program where you're, like I say, very specifically combining a humanities subject, so one that is of interest to you, one that you want to explore further. It could be modern languages, philosophy, psychology, geography, anything that's of interest. That gives us the what. We combine that with a core program in computer science, and then cement that all together with the digital humanities.
Okay, wow. And what about the module that you
Sure.
were teaching?
Sure. As I said, what I do a number of different modules. I teach digital project management. I teach the tools and methodologies. I love the tools and methodologies because it's a constantly changing world. And in that particular module, what we attempt to do is get a fairly broad overview of the variety of scholarly endeavors that are being undertaken in the digital humanities, very broadly based. So I typically do a number of weeks in data visualization, teaching people to create very pretty pictures from their data, which is cool. Understanding the implications of how those pictures are interpreted by broader society, the power of visualization, especially when it's driven by data-to-day, is very, very important. It's a very strong communication tool, but it's also one that can be hugely misused, and we really want to think about that. So we look at the nature of visualization of data coming from a wide variety of sectors: textual analysis, visual analysis, audio analysis, to create strong visualizations. We also explore things like crowdsourcing and various different phenomena that are undertaken that are particularly digital in nature, things that couldn't be accomplished in the past but have now been provided because we have the capability, the ability to digitize vast amounts of textual material and read 1 million books, something you couldn't do as a human being, but a human being can do when they have the power of technology behind them.
Okay, wonderful. Now, this is the moment I'm going to take a break and just ask everyone, if you have questions, please put them down in the comment box, and I'll make sure to ask Sean if you have any questions about digital humanities at UCC. Sean, maybe should we get a sense? I know I was going to ask you about the sort of classroom experience students will have. Can we show them where you are sitting? I believe this is a
Sure.
classroom where they'll be studying.
Sure. Let's try and see if we can do a little pan around the room there. I'll move towards the camera and then see if we can
Yeah.
raise it a little bit. We're very proud of this teaching space. It's one that we developed, we put in place in 2015. And this is
Uh-huh.
where the bulk of our digital humanities training takes place. As you can see, it's got the fairly conventional screen at the front. But as I pan around the room, you'll see that it's a very flexible space. We can move everything around in the room. We have various different snugs on the side of the room that are fully wired, have touch screens and computers available for small group work. We have a digitization suite in the background that's actually working on mining a lot and developing a lot of language models. As
Mhm.
we speak, we have another area over in this corner where we can take like smaller groups of 12 and 13 and work in a very constrained, very a cozy teaching space and work off a fairly large touch screen. In our digitization suite, we've got, like I say, we're doing a lot of AI work and building language models. We have scanners, 3D printers, a lot of workstations around the room. I happen to have one of my drones out today because we actually do a lot of work with drones, with 3D scanners, when we try to capture a lot of cultural heritage. But it's a
Yeah.
very nice, flexible space, and we really try to encourage more of a seminar rather than a lecture presentation teaching style. But we
Mhm.
really try to adapt to people with that. So it's a space, though, where a lot of students actually come themselves and spend time when they're not in class. So we just took in some new MAs this week. And I mean, they were actually thrilled to discover that they could come and use this space rather than having to go to the library to find study space. They've got this space. And in a lot of cases, I have undergraduate students sitting in cozies when I'm doing a postgraduate lecture. And
Mm.
there's this lovely intermingling and community within the program as a result of that. And even better, I often get the undergraduates participating in the postgraduate lecture. They'll throw in questions, and I'm thrilled. That's really what we try to engender as part of this. So it's a lovely space. It's our space. It's dedicated to, digital humanities. We teach in other spaces on campus as well when we need other facilities, but this is a very rich, living technological environment from that standpoint. And we're able to even run some of our funded programs out of the back room where we have a lot of the equipment that allows us to have students that are participating in real live research projects as well that are very much cutting edge, funded by various different funding agencies. So it's the DH space there. And that's really, it's quite cool from that standpoint, certainly to us.
Yeah, and it's fairly big as well. So, what would be a typical classroom size? How many students would you have?
Right now, our MA class is fairly large. I would say from my standpoint, I've actually got over 30 students in the MA class,
Oh,
which means they're not just crowded around my kind of seminar room in the front, but I've got people away in corners amongst themselves as well in our snugs. That's fairly large for a postgraduate program. I
yes.
mean, in fairness, I like it if it's 20. 30 is a lot, but it's great. And frankly, they're a really interactive bunch this year, which is super. The undergraduate program, we tend to take in 30 to 35 undergraduates every year. So at any particular year of the program, you're running into that. By the end of the program, you've got, slightly less people move on, people get out, and there's some flexibility in the program because some obviously decide not to do the third year and they go right through the fourth year. So it's never a solid cohort. But roughly the undergraduate is a really nice size because it's rarely more than 30, and that's just about right in fairness. So we have none of the big lectures. You don't have to worry about ever coming here and being
Right.
just the unidentified person sitting in a big lecture hall. Now we know your name, we know who we're talking to, and so forth, and everybody's very much involved with it. Gives us a really nice personal approach.
Lovely, lovely. And so we have a question from someone who is a student of history and wants to know if they would be eligible for the masters of digital humanities, because I think hearing the word technical and all, I think you feel like you may not be eligible.
Sure, sure. No, that's it. It's great to hear that. I mean, if you're coming out of a traditional history background, we love to have you, and we hope that we could find some great opportunity to work together. I've got an MA in history myself, and this is why I do what I do. And certainly before digital humanities was called digital humanities, I was doing digital humanities in my history practice because I was working with large manuscript census records. So I'd be working with 30 million records, and I'd be playing with it. Now, no one taught me how to do that. I just kind of figured it out for myself and did it. And a lot of that does go on in the digital humanities. Nowadays, we actually are able to instruct in how to work with large data sets, how to do that. So being able to think differently about how you've studied history is really what comes into this. So you'd actually absolutely be qualified to engage in the MA program. And I would love to have more historians in our MA program, you know, from that standpoint, to think about how you can approach the study of history and really think about telling the stories and finding the people and really understanding their lives through the use of technology in that. We don't expect people to arrive here with technological skills at all in terms of our MA program. The expectation is that we'll develop them over the time as appropriate to the specific project that they want to undertake. And certainly when we move into the second semester and people are saying, okay, I'm looking at doing a dissertation in the history of X, and I want to see how we apply technological tools to that, you are assigned a supervisor who works with you one-on-one to think about what's appropriate in terms of reading, particular skills that might need to be developed at that point in time, and we figure out what resources need to be applied to that. But those projects are developed appropriate to the expectations and aspirations of that particular student.
Okay. Okay.
So
Great.
history,
Great.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So feel free to apply, even if you come from an arts or humanities background. There's something for everyone, as Sean said, right? Like, you're very open to people from different fields coming on. So, important question on: could you shed some light on the tuition that is expected of international students?
Okay, can you repeat that, please? I had some background noise there.
The tuition fee. What sort of tuition fee would international students, and or we can put up a link and share that.
We probably want to put up a link and share that just so that those details, I frankly wouldn't have the number on the top of my
Yes,
head at this
that's
point
what I
in
thought.
time,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we can put up a link and let people know what sort of parameters there
Okay.
are around that.
Yes, and we'll do it for both the masters and the undergraduate program, so that you know what is expected across the years.
That's right,
And
absolutely. And I mean, it's probably important to note there as well that there are scholarships available on top of the tuition fees there. So those are the sort of things that are covered at that link, and we'll make that available.
wonderful, thank you. Um, Again, there's another question: do we need to have a okay? This is interesting, Sean. So, do we need to have a humanities background for this course now?
No, no, you have to be a human being. We don't, like I say, we really don't expect that you come into this with a humanities background. At the undergraduate level, the expectation is you're going to be doing a humanities minor field, okay, and you will be doing a humanities minor field as part of the undergraduate program. If you're coming into the master's program, you're bringing with you your past experience, and we get people from all backgrounds. Like I say, I mean, I get people coming in with a graphic design background. I get people coming in, you know, that have been working as project managers in a software development firm. I get people that coming in that are curators of the museum, some of which are looking at upskilling and raising their, you know, their abilities from that standpoint. Other people come in armed with a project that they've always wanted to really do. From that standpoint, we do get people that come in as historians, for example, you know, that come in and say, I'm really interested in furthering what I did at my undergraduate level in history and exploring this at the master's level, not in history itself, but in the application of technology to the study of history. And we'd run into that, but there's no expectation whatsoever that it would be just humanities subjects. And I mean, I think the very clear distinction on that is that we'd also be looking for you to have a social science background, because they're coming at with a different mindset, but we're all talking about humanity in different ways.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. And so, if we take a step back and just see, so digital humanities at UCC. So why should they consider coming to you and to University College Cork to do this particular sort of program?
Well, I mean, I think In terms of trying to decide whether it's UCC or otherwise, I think one of the crucial things that we've got is a track record of innovation in what we offer. So we've been doing this we've been studying, providing, scholarship in digital humanities for, like I say, well over 12 to 14 years now as a dedicated program. Certainly it's been happening longer than that at UCC, and we're very proud of the fact that, for that's almost probably 35 years now, we've got a very fundamental Irish digital humanities project called CELT, which we can point to, which is a wonderful collection of early medieval manuscripts that were digitized decades ago now and have evolved, and it's a continually growing program. So UCC developed serious skills and a track record in digital humanities and the use of technology in the humanities very early on. We've now got very mature programs at all levels with scholars across a fairly wide spectrum that can really work with you to develop your own skills and really respond to your own aspirations in the particular program that you're looking at. And that's why we look at matching you up with somebody, even in the final year project for the undergrad or the thesis portion of the master's program, so you get that directed attention on what it is you really want to develop towards. Ultimately, in any of the programs that we're looking at, we've got a great record of employability as well. So at the undergraduate level, it's 100%. I mean, people get jobs, they're in demand. We're really responding to where society is today from that standpoint. At the master's level, most people are, a lot of the people are doing upskilling and looking at doing a better job in the job that they are, or looking at transitioning into another sector and arming themselves with the skills to be able to go after that. And so we're very proud of that. So employability is a big plus in terms of what we're offering. We're also offering a degree of flexibility in terms of how you build that program to suit your own specific needs, and I think that's very strong as well. So UCC has really got this strong track record. We've got a strong proven program. We've got the relationships globally that really bring this together, and so we're pretty proud of it.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sean. We have some connected questions here. I know you spoke about placements and employability. So does UCC, Divya is asking, does UCC help with these placements?
We do. Actually, all of the placements that are done as part of the undergraduate program, we have a full-time placement officer that works with students in advance of placement and puts them together with employers. So we actually advertise to the students. Okay, they're then taken through the skills to actually go through the application process. They're supported through the application process, and they're matched with the employers. And once placed, they have an academic as well as a workplace mentor that supports them in the placement that they're undertaking. But yes, the university actually is the one that's actually finding those. So we have somebody that is amazingly skilled at accomplishing that.
Amazing, amazing. I think that's a big draw for everyone. And I know there's some questions around, eligibility. So we will be sharing the link where you can see what are the sorts of, maybe degrees or English language requirements that are required, plus the tuition fee. We will share that right after this, after this live. There is also something very interesting. So what Yajul is asking, what exactly are the subjects for digital humanities?
Okay, very specifically in terms of subjects, is that subjects around the minor fields that you take in the humanities?
Right.
Off the top of my head, as I try to think about these, because they do evolve over time, I'll be honest with you, sort of thing. Obviously, we're part of the School of English and Digital Humanities, and so English literature and the study of English is obviously one of the solid minor fields that we're into. I get a lot of folks in geography as well. So, I mean, I happen to have a background in geography, but with geography's in there, modern languages, sociology is very, very popular, psychology. Can they take them? Can they? Kind of. Yeah, they probably can in terms of maths. You can combine this with the sort of stuff that you need depending on scheduling availability and so forth. I think I've covered the bulk of them there that are available. There's religions, there's philosophy as they come. There's a fairly broad range of those humanities subjects. There is leeway for some flexibility in terms of students pursuing other minor fields. It really depends on the scheduling of the particular modules outside of those specific ones that we talk about.
Okay, okay, wonderful. So there is one last question, I think, before we wrap up. It is again sort of related to everything that you've been saying, Sean. Uh, but to maybe if you want to just put it in one line, how is digital humanities different from traditional humanities?
Oh, very much. I mean, it's similar in terms of the fact that we're studying the human, but we're really interested in studying the human both with a technological lens, with understanding how technology is being used by humanity and how technology is impacting on humanity. So it's the combination of the two and realizing that we live in a digital world and we want to know more about ourselves in that world.
Great, great. Thank you. Thanks for putting that. I think it's been a really great chat because it's a very fascinating subject, and it's something that I don't think we have much of or hear of very much these days, and it doesn't go with your sort of traditional profiles of putting everyone in a certain box. And I love that it's sort of feeding from other sort of departments and faculties and this interdisciplinary approach. So wonderful chatting with you, Sean. Thank you so much. I think it's been a great discussion. Some very good questions also that came across. And we will be sharing information on the digital humanities programs at the undergraduate and postgraduate level offered at UCC. You'll see the links below in the chat. And thank you for joining in. And thank you so much, Sean. And I hope you have a lot more students coming from South Asia and from India for you in the coming year.
We look forward to that. Thanks very much for having me.
Take care. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye. I presume she.
That's great.
Good? Was that good?
Sorry, no,
Good.
that went.
Oh, yeah, I know it went, and I know you were
didn't-
trying to do
Yeah,
that, and yeah, no, it's fine.
maybe didn't recognise my name, but yeah.